Chapter 8, How to Acquire the Yogi Complete Breath. I think this is the chapter that we've been waiting for. Like when I first started reading about this, the science of breath, and I was like, guys, there's these different, I shouldn't say guys, humans, there are these different ways to breathe, high, low, and mid. And I said, but there's a better way to breathe, the Yogi Complete Breath. That's probably what drew you in the first place to even sitting with me and allowing me to read you a bedtime story, which is basically what this is. But this is the chapter that I think we've all been waiting for, because I'm learning along with you all as well. Chapter 8, How to Acquire the Yogi Complete Breath. The Yogi Complete Breath is the fundamental breath of the entire yogi science of breath, and the student must fully acquaint himself with it and master it perfectly before he can hope to obtain results from the other forms of breath mentioned and given in this book. He should not be content with half learning it, but should go to work in earnest until it becomes his natural method of breathing. This will require work, time, and patience, but without these things, nothing is ever accomplished. There is no royal road to the science of breath, and the student must be prepared to practice and study in earnest if she expects to receive results. The results obtained by a complete mastery of the science of breath are great, and no one who has attained them would willingly go back to the old methods, and he will tell his friends that he considered himself aptly repaid for all his work. We say these things now that you may fully understand the necessity and importance of mastering this fundamental method of yogi breathing instead of passing it by and trying some of the attractive-looking variations given later on in this book. Again, we say to you, start right and right results will follow, but neglect your foundations and your entire building would topple over sooner than later. Perhaps the better way to teach you how to develop the Yogi Complete Breath would be to give you simple directions regarding the breath itself, and then follow up the same with general remarks concerning it, and then later on give exercises for developing the chest, muscles, and lungs, which have been allowed to remain in an undeveloped condition by imperfect methods of breathing. Right here, we wish to say that this complete breath is not a forced or abdominal thing, but on the contrary is a going back to the first principles, a return to nature. The healthy adult savage and the healthy infant of civilizations both breathe in this manner, but civilized man has adopted unnatural methods of living, clothing, etc., and has lost his birthright. And we wish to remind the reader that the complete breath does not necessarily call for the complete filling the lungs at every inhalation. One may inhale the average amount of air using the complete breathing method, and distributing the air inhaled, be the quality large or small to all parts of the lungs. But one should inhale a series of full complete breaths several times a day, whenever opportunity offers, in order to keep the system in good order and condition. The following simple exercise will give you a clear idea of what the complete breath is. Stand or sit erect, breathing through the nostrils. Inhale steadily, first filling the lower part of the lungs, which is accomplished by bringing into play the diaphragm, which descending exerts a gentle pressure on the abdominal muscles. Pushing forward the front walls of the abdomen. Then fill the middle part of the lungs, pushing out the lower ribs, breast, bone, and chest. Then fill the higher portion of the lungs, protruding the upper chest, thus lifting the chest, including the upper 6 or 7 pairs of ribs. In the final movement, the lower part of the abdomen will be slightly drawn in, which movement gives the lungs a support and also helps to fill the highest part of the lungs. At first reading, it may appear that this breath consists of 3 distinct movements. This, however, is not the correct idea. The inhalation is continuous, the entire chest cavity from the lower diaphragm to the highest point of the chest in the region of the collarbone being expanded with a uniform movement. Avoid a jerky series of inhalations and strive to attain a steady, continuous action. Practice will soon overcome the tendency to divide the inhalation into 3 movements and will result in a uniform, continuous breath. You'll be able to complete the inhalation in a couple of seconds after a little practice. So 1 is sitting erect. You breathe in from your diaphragm, then the middle, then your upper chest. Then we're moving on to 2. Retain breath for a few seconds. Exhale quite slowly, holding the chest in a firm position and drawing the abdomen in a little and lifting it upward slowly as the air leaves the lungs. Where the air is entirely exhaled, relax the chest and abdomen. A little practice will render this part of the exercise easy, and the movement, once acquired, will be afterward performed almost automatically. Quick excerpt, not going to take more than a minute to say this. As I said when I first started reading chapter 1, this book, when I first started reading it, was really hard to read. Just the style, it's different, it's built for a different era, and I was having a hard time just reading it in my mind. So I came back to this book maybe 3 times before I decided, you know what, maybe reading it from cover to cover isn't serving me. Let me go ahead and skip to the chapters that seem interesting. So I did read part of this chapter 8, about the Yogi Complete Breath, and I think I did read a bit of chapter 7 as well. So in the last week, I've been practicing this breath. And when I say practicing, I just mean being conscious of how my savage body actually breathes. And I do see a huge difference, not only in the quality of breath, but the quality of my voice. We tend to get into this very customer service way of speaking to people, where everything's really high pitched because you want to sound pleasant. Hey, how are you? How's it going? But in actuality, when you change your breathing pattern, it actually changes how wind passes through your throat. Therefore, how your throat muscles vibrate to produce sound. It will be seen that by this method of breathing, all parts of the respiratory apparatus are brought into action, and all parts of the lungs, including the most remote air cells, are exercised. The chest cavity is expanded in all directions. You will also notice that the complete breath is really a combination of low, mid, and high breaths, succeeding each other rapidly in the order given, in such a manner as to form one uniform, continuous, complete breath. It's the last paragraph of this chapter. You will find it quite a help to you if you will practice this breath before a large mirror, placing the hands slightly over the abdomen so that you may feel the movements. At the end of the inhalation, it is well to occasionally slightly elevate the shoulders, thus raise the collarbone, and allowing the air to pass freely into the smaller upper lobe of the right lung, which place is sometimes the breeding place of tuberculosis. At the beginning of practice, you may have more or less trouble in acquiring the complete breath, but a little practice will make perfect, and when you have once acquired it, you will never willingly return to the old methods. So I'm going to leave us there today, just two chapters, chapter 7 and 8, which were the 4 methods of respiration, which we learned were high breath, mid breath, low breath, and then the Yogi Complete Breath, which we just read over in chapter 8, how to acquire the Yogi Complete Breath. So when I first started practicing this, which was only last week, I think, Thursday, when I started practicing this, the breath was hard because I think I usually do low breathing, or I'll do a mid and high breathing. But through yoga, even in my acting classes, our teachers would make us take a deep breath, hold it for a couple of seconds, and let it out. So I'm not new to this style of breathing, but the Yogi Complete Breath, doing it all at once and holding for a couple of breaths, letting out really slowly, and letting out through your nose. Like Yogi Ramacharaka said, your nose is a filtration system. So you're not taking in the inhalation and out through your mouth and letting out that prana. You're actually keeping that prana in your body. But on the inhalation, very slowly, and allowing there to just be no air in your lungs for maybe 3 to 4 seconds. You can definitely go longer. From what I have been learning, it's really healthy to allow your body to breathe naturally. And I think I've sat before practicing this and my body just didn't inhale for like 20 seconds, but I felt my body oxygenated. So when you first practice, it could feel a little off, maybe even a little arduous, because like Yogi said, you're not used to using the muscles in that way altogether, so it may feel a little weird, but also, like he said, it becomes natural because that's how your body is naturally supposed to breathe. So after a while, you will no longer have to think, okay, low and then mid and high, and then let me hold it for a couple of seconds. Your body will naturally breathe that way. So thank you for taking a minute to read with me because the only reason I'm reading this live and sharing it online, yeah, I think there's a lot of value in this book, but it was hard for me to just sit and read. My attention span was going towards other things, but I knew this book had a lot of value to it. So if it does have value, share it, guys. You don't have to share this video, you don't have to share my YouTube videos, but just tell a person about the science of breath, or show them how to do the Yogi Complete Breathing. I know we just went over chapters 7 and 8, so you may need to practice a bit before you share it with someone else, but I do encourage you to practice in front of a mirror. If you can, practice without a shirt on, so you can actually see how your abdomen fills up with air and your lower, what did he say, the floating ribs expand, then the middle of your chest comes out, then the high part of your chest comes out. And so when you actually breathe, it's expand, 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 and then when you exhale, it's contract, contract, contract. So it's low, mid, high, low, mid, high, low, mid, high, and that creates that circulation of the yogi continuous breath. Love and light to you. This video will be up on my IGTV, as well as my YouTube, as well as chapters 1 through 6 as well. Love and light.